David Chen sat in the corner of the quiet cafe, reviewing acquisition contracts on his laptop. At 37, he ran Chen Industries with ruthless efficiency, building a tech empire through careful strategy and calculated risk. His days were measured in profits and deals, his emotions carefully compartmentalized. The cafe was his refuge between meetings, a place where nobody recognized him or wanted anything from him. Until the little girl appeared beside his table. She couldn't have been more than 4 years old, with blonde pigtails tied with pink ribbons and a tan jacket over a red dress. In her small hands, she clutched a worn stuffed rabbit, one ear hanging by threads, stuffing visible through a tear in its side. "Excuse me, mister," she said in a tiny voice. "Can you fix my toy?" David looked up from his laptop, surprised. "I'm sorry, what?" The girl held up the rabbit, her blue eyes serious and hopeful. "Can you fix him? His ear is broken and he has a hole. Mommy says we can't afford to buy a new one, and she doesn't know how to sew." David glanced around the cafe, looking for the girl's parent. A young woman sat 2 tables away, head in her hands, looking exhausted and overwhelmed. She hadn't noticed. Her daughter had wandered over. "I don't think I can help with that," David said carefully. "I don't know how to sew either." The girl's face fell, her lip trembling. "But it's really important. Daddy gave me this rabbit before he went to heaven. It was the last present ever. Mommy says I have to take good care of it, but the ear came off when I was hugging him too tight." Something in David's chest tightened at the raw grief in such a small voice. He'd spent years hardening himself against emotion, building walls to protect against the vulnerability he'd learned led only to pain. But this child's simple sorrow cut through every defense. "Your daddy gave you this rabbit?" David asked gently. She nodded. "For my 3rd birthday. He said Hoppy would keep me safe and give me hugs when I was sad. But now Hoppy is broken and I'm scared he can't protect me anymore." The woman at the other table had noticed her daughter missing and rushed over, panic and embarrassment crossing her face. "Lily, I'm so sorry, sir. She's very friendly." She took the girl's hand. "We talked about not bothering people." "She wasn't bothering me," David said. He looked at the rabbit, at the desperate hope in the child's eyes, and made an impulsive decision completely unlike him. "Actually, I think I might be able to help. There's a seamstress shop 2 blocks from here. If you have a few minutes, we could take Hoppy there and see if they can repair him." The woman looked suspicious. "Why would you do that? You don't know us." "I know what it's like to lose someone important," David said quietly. "And I know that sometimes the smallest things carry the biggest memories. This rabbit matters to your daughter. That's reason enough." The woman studied his face, clearly weighing trust against her daughter's need. "I'm Grace," she said finally. "And this is Lily. We can't pay you for a repair. I'm not asking you to. Consider it a kindness from a stranger who's forgotten what that means lately." The seamstress shop was small, tucked between larger businesses. An elderly woman greeted them warmly, took one look at Hoppy, and smiled with understanding. "This is a well-loved friend," she said to Lily. "I can fix him good as new. It'll take about 20 minutes. Lily carefully handed over the rabbit, watching as the seamstress carried it to her work area. Grace and David settled into chairs to wait, Lily between them, swinging her legs anxiously. "How long has it been?" David asked Grace quietly. "Since your husband passed. 18 months. Car accident. One day he was here, the next he wasn't." Grace's voice was carefully controlled. "We're managing. I work 2 jobs. We have a small apartment, Lily's and daycare. It's not what we planned, but we're making it work." "That must be exhausting." "Is. But what choice do I have? Lily needs stability, needs to know she's safe, even though her world changed overnight." Lily tugged on David's sleeve. "Mister, do you have kids?" "No, I don't." "Why not? Don't you want someone to love you?" The innocent question hit harder than any business negotiation. David had avoided relationships, avoided connection, convinced that success required sacrifice. He'd built an empire, but never a family. "I suppose I've been too busy with work," he said honestly. "That's sad. Lily said with a child's blunt wisdom. My daddy always said people are more important than work. He left work early lots of times to play with me. Grace's eyes filled with tears. She quickly blinked away. He did. He was a good father. The seamstress returned with Hoppy, carefully repaired. The ear was reattached perfectly, the tear mended with tiny, invisible stitches. Lily took the rabbit and hugged it tight, her face lighting up with pure joy. Thank you. Thank you. She threw her arms around the seamstress, then around David's legs. Hoppy is fixed. Now, he can protect me again. David paid the modest repair fee, waving away Grace's attempts to reimburse him. As they walked back toward the calf, David found himself reluctant to part ways with this little girl and her quietly strong mother. Can I ask you something? He said to Grace. What do you do for work? I'm a bookkeeper for a small accounting firm during the day, and I stock shelves at a grocery store 3 nights a week. Why? My company needs someone to manage financial reconciliation. It's entry-level accounting, but it pays well and has benefits. Better hours than what you're doing now. Would you be interested? Grace stopped walking. Is this pity? Because I don't need pity. It's recognition. You're clearly organized, responsible, and hardworking. If you're managing 2 jobs and raising a daughter alone, those are the qualities I need. The job is real, and you'd be hired on merit once you interview properly. I don't understand why you're helping us. David looked at Lily, who was chattering to Hoppy about his adventure at the repair shop. Because your daughter asked me to fix her rabbit, and somehow that simple request reminded me that there are things more important than quarterly earnings. I've spent years focused on profit. Maybe it's time I focused on people. Grace did interview for the position. She was hired and proved to be excellent at her work. With better income and hours, she could spend more time with Lily, could afford a better apartment, could breathe for the first time in 18 months. David found excuses to check on how she was settling in, to ask about Lily, to involve himself in their lives in small ways. Grace's presence at the company changed something in him. Her perspective reminded him why businesses existed, to create value for people, not just shareholders. A year after meeting in the cafe, David and Grace were dating. Lily had decided David was pretty okay for a grown-up, and allowed him into their small family circle. David discovered that the walls he'd built around his heart weren't protecting him. They were imprisoning him. 3 years after Lily had asked him to fix her rabbit, David proposed to Grace. At the small wedding, Lily was flower girl, carrying Hoppy down the aisle with her. You know, Grace said at the reception, I never told you this, but that day in the cafe, I'd been praying for a miracle. The rent was due, Lily's daycare bill was overdue, and Hoppy breaking felt like the last straw. I was sitting there trying not to cry when Lily wandered over to you. She asked the right person, David said. Though I didn't know it at the time, you fixed more than just a stuffed rabbit that day. You fixed our future. David looked at Lily, dancing with Grace's mother. Hoppy carefully set aside on a chair. She fixed mine too. Taught me that the most important things aren't in quarterly reports. They're in small hands holding broken rabbits and asking strangers for help. The millionaire who'd measured success in profits had learned to measure it in the laughter of a little girl, the love of a good woman, and the simple act of fixing what's broken instead of walking away. If this story touched your heart, like, share, and subscribe for more tales of unexpected family. Comment about small acts that changed everything.